Hey guys, this is Alex, and welcome to the Two Dudes Brews Interviews podcast. On today's episode, Austin and I are talking about Sam Raimi's 1987 horror comedy classic, Evil Dead 2. We get into the filmmaking, Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi's other films, and the overall weirdness of this trilogy as a whole. If you like what you hear, consider subscribing to the podcast, leave us a rating or a review, and maybe even tell your friends about us. With that being said, we hope you enjoyed the show.
Motherfucker, we're live. We're here.
Yo.
Let's jump in, because if we don't, we'll just sit here and bullshit all night.
We've been talking off mic for like 30 minutes.
Dude, I'm so excited. I guess this is the first time in my life I feel like I have been excited for spooky season, man.
Oh, yeah?
For real. Like, I don't care for horror films that much for most of my life, and now I'm like, I think I can kind of see it a little bit.
There is good shit out there.
Well, we watched, I don't even know that I would really consider The Thing a horror film.
It is, but it isn't.
I don't know.
It's like a creature feature and a sci-fi movie and a mystery at the same time. It's kind of hard to nail down. I'm
kind of into it now. I like the creature feature. Like, I like Alien.
I love Alien.
Dude, I think I watched it for the first time last year, and I loved it. It opened my eyes to like a different level of film, and I feel like I got a lot of that on this too, in a much stranger way of appreciation.
I think when I gave my white boy spiel last time we were together, you said, it sounds like this will have a nice flavor. And I think a flavor is an understatement. This is like opening the ramen packet, the seasoning, and like just eating it raw. You know, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I had a really hard time kind of figuring out what kind of angle I wanted to take with this one. I'm like, what are my talking points here? Because I feel like the majority of the film, albeit it's like so short, but it feels like long. In a good way. In a good way. It's like an hour 20 runtime, close to it. Dude, like, I enjoyed every bit of it, which was like strange. Like, I watched it inebriated late at night, freaked me out, but like, I also laughed.
I laughed a lot.
That was strange. It was a weird balance. You know what I mean? It reminded me of The Lighthouse, where it had its comedic moments. I think this is like so much more comedic, but
it's balanced here better than I've seen in many other things. I feel like I've seen a few horror comedies. Cabin in the Woods. You ever seen that movie?
No. It's a horror comedy?
It's a bit of a satire. Breaking down the stereotypes like of a horror movie. Evil Dead 2 kind of feels like a satire of the first movie in a weird way. And we'll get into all that.
So I didn't watch the first film, but have you?
I have watched the first one. I told you beforehand that you didn't need to see it.
Right.
I watched it with Andrew and Kelsey 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I wasn't really a big fan. I was actually kind of like indifferent to it. In preparation for this, I actually watched the third movie too. I watched Army of Darkness because I had to know where it was going next after the final scene of this one.
I'm not going to lie to you. I have to watch it too. Like, I literally, I'm like, no, I need to watch this. Like,
I'll bring in some details about it throughout because it's so different than this one is.
Really?
Like, these 3 movies don't match up in tone at all. It's the weirdest trilogy ever.
Dude, like, I'm getting excited about film again for this. Like, when I watched this movie, let me kind of like break down. When I was younger, I was really into this YouTuber called the Angry Video Game Nerd.
I know of him.
Yes. And he's a pretty popular channel. He always made the most interesting horror film reviews and stuff. Old slasher films. I loved watching his reviews of old video games and all this stuff. And I was always intrigued by his love for horror film. And like, I never got it because I never watched them. I had no interest in watching. If you put on like some dumb exorcism movie, like right now, I'd be like, this is the dumbest shit in the world. But like stuff like this, I'm like, oh, okay. There is like homage to the genre, and then like there was satire in it, and then like there was also like some fucking insane, really, like there was actually a couple of really great horror moments where I'm like, oh, okay, like it got me for a second, and then it like immediately brings you out and makes you like, I love that.
It is frequent whiplash from moment to moment.
Right.
It's insane that it like gels together.
Right.
There was creativity in every moment of this film.
That's the other thing. Don't you feel like the structure of the film is so bizarre? Dude, he decapitates his girlfriend by the 6-minute runtime. I'm like, oh, we're here. We're in it.
That's like the whole arc of the first movie. Like, I feel like that happens towards the end of that one.
Really?
I'm not even 100% sure if this is a continuation of the first one.
I thought it was like a reimagining of the original script.
But it's got like a 2 at the end of the title. If you went to the theater to see Evil Dead 2, wouldn't you expect like a continuation of the first movie?
Right.
This is all the same plot beats, just rearranged a little bit. In the first movie, he goes up to the cabin, but instead of it just being him and his girlfriend, it's her and like 2 or 3 other buddies. So we start off with multiple people. In this, that doesn't come in until like 30, 40 minutes.
Right.
This is literally all the same pieces, just rearranged slightly with the style amped up to 11.
I thought like in the first 20 minutes, I was like, this is about to be the dumbest thing I've watched all year. Like seriously, in the first 20 minutes, I'm like, this is about to be the dumbest shit I've watched all year. And I'm like, I guess I'm here for it. Like, I'm like, I've got to be here for it. I'm like, Getter recommended this. I've got to take something out of this. I'm like, I'm in for fucking like misery for the next hour. And then I'm like, that was the greatest thing I've seen all day. I'm like, this is the best. This is the best movie I've seen all year.
Do you remember what the turning point was? Like what scene where you were like, okay, I'm in it now?
Yeah. So the scene where that happened for me was like him laughing. That's like straight up my favorite scene.
I think it's mine too.
I was like, oh no, wait, okay, this is about to get a little bit better. I realized that like the pacing of the film is really fast and like it's moment to moment to moment to moment. It's like setup, punchline. Honest to God, it's like some of the worst setups at times where it's like, now we're in this room and here's plot moving dialogue. Like here's information about the book. And it's like, how fucking convenient. And then I'm like, by the end, I'm like, oh my God, that was so fucking cool.
It's like barely pretending to be a movie.
Right.
It only remains a normal movie for about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe.
Right. And then it dips into that absurdism.
I think it does have like a few brief slow down moments in what I guess I could call the second act. Once the new people join into the cabin, we actually have dialogue scenes. To be fair, the first 15 minutes of this is like Bruce Campbell just screaming and running around.
It is. And I will have you know that one of my only issues with the film is that I have no idea what the fuck anybody is saying. As far as like the witch and like the spirit, I can't hear what is actually being described through like this very heavy vocal effect.
Okay, good. So I'm not the only one.
Right. And then Bruce is like, I'll get you. And I'm like, what? What are you getting? God damn it.
What did you watch this on, by the way?
I bought it on Vudu. It was on sale. It was on sale for like $3.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and I like picked it. I was like, fuck yeah.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Here we go, man.
When I recommended this, it had just been on HBO Max. That's where I was planning to watch it.
Okay.
I had to pick up the standard definition version
Okay.
from the library, and the audio track for dialogue specifically, it felt like it wasn't even mixed on this DVD.
It was so blown out.
It was.
And it's not just that. It was still that way on this, whatever this digital master was. I don't know if it was in 4K. It may have been. I couldn't really tell you if it made any difference.
I don't know if I would want the fidelity to be like increased that much for this movie.
Yeah. It's not even like necessarily the movie to do that for. It's not like a beautiful film. Like there are films where like we can watch like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and be like, this movie's fucking over 40 years old. And I'm like, yeah, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like I need to watch this in, an 8K remaster on IMAX. It's not that movie. So
No,
it's not a big deal.
This is like a VCR, like a VHS type of movie. The grittiness is kind of the appeal in many ways.
I guess I understand Sam Raimi a little bit more now. Up until this point, it's only been Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. I've never like seen a Sam Raimi film that's not like Marvel.
I've seen like almost all his movies, and I didn't even mean to. You ever seen Drag Me to Hell?
No.
I haven't seen it since I was in high school, but I watched it then. Didn't know it was a Sam Raimi movie, but it was like a pretty subpar, crappy 2000s. Maybe it's better than that, but at the time I hated it. He did the Oz movie with James Franco.
Oh, why? Why would he do such a thing?
That is a good question. James Franco and Mila Kunis. He directed that. I don't know if that was like a director for hire type thing or if that was like his passion project.
That's strange.
That was the last movie he directed for 13 years until this latest Doctor Strange movie.
I think I gave Doctor Strange a really bad rap because I think I kind of appreciate it a little bit more now because I'm still like, I could not give a flying fuck about Marvel anymore. I really like
The script for that movie sucks,
Right.
honestly.
but I guess I see Sam Raimi's flavor. There were moments where I felt like Sam Raimi had control, and then the rest of the film, I felt like there are so many people that have their hands in this bucket right now. It was so overwhelming.
I mean, you see like beloved heroes get like ripped to shreds in that movie, and like probably the most violent way ever portrayed in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that has to be his
Right.
stamp. I mean, the movie ends with Doctor Strange like as a corpse walking around, like it's
Right.
not even his body. That's that Evil Dead shit right there.
Right.
That's cool. I like that it was there.
But it's also like, it made no sense. The entirety of the film was just like a clusterfuck of too many ideas.
It was like not great ideas either a lot of the
Right.
time.
I think I hated it for the right reasons, but I also appreciate it a little bit more now when thinking back on it. Rewatching it now would not make a difference on like my opinion at all.
Me neither. It's like a 6 out of 10 for me. Very light 6.
Fuck, it's awful.
It's not that awful.
Nah, it's just like, I don't know, it was disappointing. Just like it was a weird time to do that. I don't know. Don't get me started. We have this conversation all the time.
The multiverse stuff in that movie was so uncreative.
Mm-hmm.
In this universe, you go on red and stop on green. Pizza is like a circle. That was like the stuff they came up with.
Did you guys not learn from like Into the Spider-Verse? You can like lean into the absurdism and it'll work. Speaking of absurdism, at the end of the Bengals game on Monday night when they won, they played the fucking SpongeBob Sweet Victory. They played that on the fucking Jumbotron at the stadium.
Like the Bubble Bowl
Yes.
song.
Yes, that's absurdism.
I mean, that's a great tune though.
At its brother, I want that fucking played at my funeral. Like, Jesus, it's
think-
so good.
Whenever that episode was on as a kid, I swear like my soul left my body.
Yeah,
Like,
it was the best. It was like, I've seen this a million times, but I cannot wait to the end. I cannot wait to the end of this fucking episode. It's one of the most perfect SpongeBob episodes.
well, you want to see Squilliam eat shit.
Yes,
at the end.
you want to see him carried out on a goddamn stretcher. Fuck yeah, man.
What were we talking about again? Evil Dead 2?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Speaking of SpongeBob, here we are.
I can't remember what point we were making before. The Sam Raimi's other films, like appreciating the,
Yeah.
getting to know his style a bit more.
I love the over the top, man. It was gross, but it was also like hysterical. Again, those moments where, very specifically, I don't know if you feel this way, where it would be really cheesy and dumb, and then it would be like, we can really lean into like this family thing. Like, let's have the actual alive mother come up instead of like the grotesque. I'm like, yeah, here we go. I'm like, okay.
I loved that moment.
Yeah,
actually.
I did too. Because it brings you right back in. It's like, okay, we're still doing the horror movie.
Is there like piano music in that scene?
I think.
There's a few scenes where like Bruce Campbell is playing piano like
Mm-hmm.
over other people talking, and like it was really nice. I'm not trying to like distract from this old lady thing, but I'm just trying to remember. But yeah, that moment is it's like equal parts cheesy and creepy.
I also think what kind of made that scene in particular a little bit more professional looking is like, I think it was lit really well, particularly like, I don't know if you'll feel this way. One of the things that I think kind of helps cheapen the film in a good way, there are a couple times where like the lighting is awful. Like,
It's pretty damn bad
Like-
at a few moments. Yeah.
like there was a couple moments where this doesn't make sense at all. When they're outside and like the trees are moving, when fucking Billy Bob Joe, whatever the fuck his name is,
Billy Joe. That's the
that's
woman.
the woman's name is, yeah. I don't even know if that character is named.
I don't think anybody calls him by name.
Regardless, they're walking out there, they're looking at the trees, and like the trees are moving and shaking and all, you know, they're all freaked out. But then like when it cuts their faces, there's like lights.
I think I know where that is. I think not every single shot, but the shot that you're thinking of, I think those are miniatures.
Right.
When it cuts
Right.
to those.
But it doesn't make sense
The lighting just does not match between the two.
in camera, because it's like basically black, slightly cool blue lighting the back of the trees, and then it's a warm yellow light flickering on their face. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense.
I listened to Red Letter Media's commentary track for Army of Darkness, and they mention that Sam Raimi doesn't give a fuck about continuity, really.
No. Right.
They point out like 30 different things in Army of Darkness where it just does not make sense. But the fast pace, you don't really think about that too much. It wasn't distracting to me, at least. Very
I noticed it.
B-movie.
Yeah, I noticed it, and I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But it was noticeable, which I found strange. And I guess the reason that is because when I think about this movie now, I'm like, okay, it's beloved for its campiness, but also there are like good flavorings of like excellence in it, which puts it on this weird seesaw. It keeps like this weird balance, you know, it's strange.
the material here like really is like C or B level. The elevation is the filmmaking and the editing,
Right.
which I think is like top fucking notch.
I don't know. Like, I guess I appreciated the cheesiness in the way that some shots were accomplished. And I guess one of my biggest intrigues for that is, okay, what was considered a cheap effect at this time when it was made?
What was considered a cheap effect?
Right. Like,
what was the budget of this? $3.5 million. That seems relatively low. That's 1987.
At 87? Ooh, I don't know, man. 87, 3 mil is probably like the equivalent of 12 million now.
You might
No,
be
probably
right.
more than that.
15, 17.
20, maybe. Close to it. Probably 18.
That's still like compared
low.
to the average,
Pretty low.
like $150 million movies.
I feel like 150 is the baseline now.
Yeah, for like high profile stuff at
Right.
least. I don't know. You know, at the end when like the hag woman comes back and like there's a stop motion sequence, there's a few shots where like there's not stop motion, and I swear to God it's someone with a hand puppet. You can only see the head in frame, and it's
Right.
like kind of like lurching at Bruce Campbell. I think that's a cheap fucking effect. But then there's stuff where like the blood is launching through the walls and stuff
Right.
like that feels high budget.
Even though it's over the top and absurd, it's still intense.
It's an insane moment.
Right. And there's a couple moments like that where it's like blood pouring out of the fucking cellar when what's his face is getting eaten.
Oh my Lord.
Crazy moments like that. Speaking of lighting, like I think it's not necessarily a in-camera thing, but like the red filter over the shot when Bruce Campbell chainsaws his girlfriend's head open. Didn't think those words would ever come out of my mouth. But like,
Is it a filter or is it red lighting?
I think it's a filter. I think they put a filter over it because they in the shot, and I could be wrong. I wish I could take a peek at it now. But if the blood is being, they spray the blood on the light bulb, and then it like washes over the screen.
That's true. That would. I got mush mouth right now, dude.
Mush mouth.
Yeah.
That Oktoberfest. We're drinking Oktoberfest. We didn't even fucking say it.
Yeah. We always do this, don't we?
We were like, oh yeah, by the way, this video is brought to you by Great Lakes Oktoberfest tonight.
This is probably what we drank last year on
Probably.
the Halloween episode.
Probably. Either that or like Le Fin du Monde. It's about time for Le Fin du Monde, by the way.
I can't remember the last time that we did drink that. Christmas, somewhere around there, January.
Every time I look at Le Fin du Monde, I'm like, this is the beer to bring out.
We should email that company and have them sponsor us. That should be the official beer
I
of
love
this cast.
It's my favorite beer. Don't be wrong. I'm a Miller Lite boy to the day I die. Like, if I'm at a bar and I don't know what to get and I want to just like start my night off smooth, I get a fucking Miller Lite. Not a problem. But Le Fin du Monde.
I feel like I'm usually a fan of like companies over like one particular beer. Like I
Right.
love Great Lakes. I love
Right.
many beers that they make. I haven't tried anything else by Unibrow Brewing.
I have. I think I've had they have a red ale, I think, or like a.
Was it good?
Yeah, I think it was, but like Le Fin du Monde sits in a weird spot where it's like this is the most well-developed blonde beer I've ever tasted in my life.
I've never really had anything like it before.
Yeah, it's really good. Anyway, I'm gonna stop riding that dick for a little while, but when we talk about the podcast, but you know, maybe we'll bust out Le Fin du Monde for the next episode. I've got like a fucking slot that screams professional. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, we're going there.
I'm ready for that then.
We're going.
But yeah, like that red effect, that probably would be hard to achieve in camera. Like get the blood splatter perfectly. In that shot, it's a filter, but then it cuts
Right.
to the wall. And I think that might be red lighting. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That's like one of the fucking most disgusting shots in the film where like the fucking black is like spewing at him.
Like into his mouth and
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh my God.
The usual Hollywood standard for like making fake blood is just food coloring and corn syrup, right?
Right.
I think Sam Raimi adds like coffee to this mixture. It was a lot darker, like in that moment
Yeah.
specifically. But then when the Hilljack guy gets devoured into the cellar, it was kind of like fruit juice looking.
Like Kool-Aid, yeah.
Like there was no consistency like among the blood.
Right.
It was green at one point.
Yeah, when they killed the boyfriend. You know what bothered me? I wanted to see his mutilated body, and you never see it.
Yeah.
They never show that. And I was like, fuck, man, that was an opportunity.
Is he even laying around like
No.
in other scenes?
No.
Like where'd he go?
That's the thing. And they're like, then they pick up the axe, and it's like, yeah, like that should be covered in green goo. There should be like shit all over the floor, and there's not.
I was so confused by the green blood thing. I read into the movie a bit more. The first Evil Dead was like banned in the US for a period of time. I think this was like before they had like the NC-17 rating. So it was given an X rating, which theaters won't show it, distributors don't want nothing to do with it. It's on the level of like porno at that point, basically. So he wanted to avoid that with this movie, and he threw green blood in only that one scene. It wasn't even like that gratuitous of a scene.
No.
Like, why wasn't the blood spewing out of the cellar the green blood? Like, if you wanted to avoid an X rating, that's weird to me.
The weird thing to me is that I guess at the time it probably would have played on that balance, but now I'm like, this was nothing. I would show this to like my 14-year-old if I had a kid.
I've seen like too much shit now.
Maybe I'm older and I'm desensitized to it. Maybe if I was younger, it would get to me more. But like, this is nothing. I mean, like, I could still get terrified by shit. Like, I won't watch Saw. Like, I'm not interested in that shit.
I've seen the first 5.
Yeah, that's like series. I have no interest in seeing shit like that.
You're not missing anything.
No, it seems boring.
If you're gonna do like gore, I want it to have like a purpose. Like recently, I'm big on David Cronenberg, like the body horror stuff. It's not like this gratuitous overused thing in the films. Like it's this amazing practical effect, usually used in like 1 or 2 powerful scenes. It's not like
that's
bad in taste.
That's how I felt like with The Thing. Like when you get to see like heads come out of like this mutilated body and like the dogs, and it's not to the effect of like, oh, I can't look at this. This is too much. Like I appreciate it now. Like it's all that can be done digitally, and it can be like really cheap, and that stuff's so easy now. Like that stuff's so easy, and you appreciate the level of effort that they had to go through. I don't know, you think about all the people that were working on it. Like when I see like the stop motion stuff, especially in this film, I'm like, somebody had to fucking do that.
It's funny that I hate the stop motion scene in The Thing, but in this, I thought it was like great.
It's because it's hilarious, because it's funny. It doesn't look good at a couple of points when the decaying naked body starts dancing with itself, and the head is very clearly detached, and then like it just goes yee and like flies off into nothingness behind a tree, and I'm like, oh, that was fucking weird. Like, why did I just watch a naked body dance and then like disappear into the trees? Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
Did that scene even need to be stop motion?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like you could have put somebody in a bodysuit out there and like with prosthetics on, and it would have been fine.
It was filmed at a distance.
It would have been an easy shot to light properly.
Unless it just adds to like the uncanny like movement of the character.
And like, by the way, this is like 10 minutes in. Like you're just so immediately thrust into the craziness. It's like I have no time to process.
I think I was rewatching it last night, and I had to pause it to go use the bathroom. And when I paused it and found out I was only 13 minutes in, I thought I was at like 27.
Exactly. That's the funniest thing about it. In the first 5 minutes, it's begun. There's no like at least a 20-minute setup to like, here's our characters. Here's what their relationship is to each other. This is their situation. Here we go. It's like, you want to pop the champagne, honey? And then it's like 2 minutes later, he's cutting her fucking head off. And it's like, what the fuck?
All we know about our main character is that he wants to get fucking laid.
He wants to fuck at this cabin
that he doesn't even own. This is somebody else's house.
Yes. He's like, well, just tell him the car broke down, honey. I'm like, this guy's a fucking piece of shit. Like, this guy's awful.
Why did it feel like he was doing like a Jim Carrey impression when he was like,
yes,
like, I'm a man and you're a woman. Last time I checked.
Like, it's like so weird. Fucking weird.
That was the weirdest line delivery.
Yeah, man. That's when I first started the film. I'm like, oh, this is the movie. Like, this is a comedy horror film. This is the movie trying to be funny. Here we are. This is about to be a fucking train wreck. Like, this is awful. And then 20 minutes in, I'm like, I'm here, baby. I've fucking arrived at the greatest film I've seen. It doesn't make any sense. But I guess if you're watching a stand-up special, you're like, oh, okay, here's the first couple jokes. I'm watching a stand-up special. And then by the middle of it, you're like, this is the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. You get tricked. You're so hyper aware at the beginning before you're caught. I got you.
This is like an overstimulating pace, though. My brain kind of hurts once the credits roll.
Oh, yeah. I literally think this might have been like the first Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, it was like so intense in the way it was just like, here we are. We've arrived. I mean, that movie gives you a minute to breathe before they throw you into the fucking fire. But, I mean, it wasn't too dissimilar in length and pace. Piss break. Is like the whole cast kind of like nobodies besides Bruce Campbell?
I think so. The female lead, her name is on like the front of the box, the movie poster where it's advertised, but I don't know who she is. And everybody else is It's a very B movie.
She looks like discount Sigourney Weaver.
A bit, yeah. I don't know if I want to criticize like the acting of the B characters. Like I don't know if there's like any point in doing that. The female lead wasn't great, and the hillbilly guy was a stereotype, so there was like nothing to that. And then the other woman had no characteristics.
One of my biggest gripes is like I don't know who the fuck anybody is called. Even the fact that like Bruce Campbell's character's name is Ash, is that correct?
It is.
I'm like, nah. I'm like, I don't even like correlate his name even being related to the film. Like that's what that's like I don't know who anybody is. They were like caricatures of like what their characters are supposed to be. Like, they felt like very watered down. Here's a perfect example. This was a little bit of an inebriation thought when I had it while watching the film. But okay, they can't cross the bridge. We're like little bridge trolls. You can't cross the bridge till you pay the toll, goddammit. Like, it's the weirdest fucking interaction in this film. I'm like, is it the fact that the film is like really rudimentary in this setup? Or is it like, is this how people were at this point in time where it's like, you can't cross here because the bridge is out, but we know a trail. Wink, wink. Give us a little something and you can go by. I'm like, this is the most basic fucking dialogue interaction and like the most absurd. It just didn't feel real.
And I don't think it's supposed to.
Yeah, it was like so bizarre.
It's heightened reality.
Yeah, it was like, ugh. It felt weird in the movie too, and I'm like, I can't tell if this is stupid or not. I felt like it was so overstimulated I could not even process properly.
I think that has something to do with it. You've endured about 20 minutes of nonstop insanity
and yelling.
Like you get like a normal scene of people just talking. It's like, whoa, what? Hold on a second.
Exactly. And I'm like,
I forgot what this was.
I'm like, this feels like 2 + 2 = 4, and here we are. And it was just fucking bizarre. It really bizarre.
Any scene involving characters like relaying information to each other felt like they only did it because it's necessary for this to be a movie.
Right.
It's pretending to be like that scene. Like,
right.
I think this quality kind of goes across many Sam Raimi movies. I think like the acting in like the Spider-Man films is like a little uncanny valley.
Dude, I was thinking about that today while I was actually making breakfast. I was thinking about Spider-Man. Sam Raimi Spider-Man, it is so, everything is like delivered so coldly. I mean, like there are moments like in the middle of the film where like a character like J. Jonah Jameson kind of adds a little flame of life in that film where like, I don't know, like everything's really bland and boring. And
Willem Dafoe is like another element to that.
Exactly.
You have really dull characters with really insane characters like mingling together.
Like all the high school stuff feels like the most rudimentary shit. Like, come on, Flash, knock it off. What?
Yeah,
that's it. Like that's where we're gonna like stem this far away from reality. And I guess like it almost feels like they probably fucking pulled that right off the fucking comic strip. Like to be honest with you,
when you think about it, it's like a good fit for Sam Raimi. Like he can hit that heightened reality. It's interesting.
It's strange. Yeah. But it's almost like I think in the third film, the dialogue for Spider-Man, like the second and the third film, I also think part of that is the studio.
Oh, for sure. Like they fucked with the third one a lot.
They were like, yeah, but the second one was like the right balance, where it was like just enough people like had to say to like kind of make this thing a little bit more larger than life. Like the first Spider-Man is like really weird.
I love the first Spider-Man.
Peter. He fucking like you lay on the ground. Peter.
You know what?
Like what the fuck? This guy looks like a fucking hamburger on the fucking ground.
Uncle Ben drives Ash's car. Like from this.
Oh,
like,
same
that car is
same
like
model.
Is in every Sam Raimi movie. It was in Doctor Strange too in a scene.
Really?
It's like kind of one of his hallmarks, I guess.
Hey, look at there. We pulled it together.
Yeah.
We're back. Fuck yeah, man.
You know, I can never decide if I hate Tobey Maguire's performance in Spider-Man.
Yeah, you know, he's a great actor. Have you ever seen Brothers?
I have.
If I watched it now, I don't think it's a great film, but I think it's almost like a character study.
Tobey has a few great acting moments in that film.
There are a lot of great acting moments, I think, in that film. That's where I think, like, yeah, Tobey Maguire is great. Okay, well, how does that same person fit into, like, that movie?
Was that Sam Raimi's direction for his character, I guess?
Like, especially with the third film, Tobey turns into, like, a complete dumbass. That movie's weird. Really fucking weird.
I've never been able to nail down Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3 is, like, a bad movie.
It's pretty bad.
It's fucking bad.
It's a huge fucking mess.
When I was a kid, I thought it was cool because I thought like, oh, black suit Spider-Man, that was the only cool thing about it. And then I was like, the rest of this movie fucking blows. I was even disappointed by it as a kid.
I don't think I saw that for the first time till I was in my 20s.
Yeah, you would hate it even more. Like, don't get me wrong, the Sandman stuff, really good. If Sandman was the main character, like the main villain, it'd have been like a perfect film.
Topher Grace is fucking Venom.
Yeah.
What? As Eddie Brock.
I'll fucking shut up, Kelso. Like,
Who was the other villain? There was a third one, right? James Franco coming back for revenge.
As Green Goblin. And like, that's the worst part.
Yeah, I hate James Franco.
He used to be kind of cool, and then like now it feels like no, he was like kind of just like a sleazeball the whole time, and we kind of got tricked. I love the prosthetics, man. Like a lot. That was like one of my favorite aspects of the film. Those interesting cuts were fun, especially when he gets like thrown very clearly, the spinning green screen, like spinning image, like thrown into a fucking tree that somehow doesn't break his fucking spine.
It almost felt like that image wasn't even him at moments.
Right.
Like, was this like a weird animation thing
was
going on?
so bizarre.
That's like 7 minutes in.
Oh my God, dude.
I love when he lands in that puddle at the end of that sequence. There's this long 360 take of the environment, and it feels like it goes on for 2 minutes.
It does. I think that's one of the weird things about that, though, right? Because it's like it's been so fast paced starting out. It's like a 10-second moment like that feels like an eternity. And like that happens later too with like the laughing scene. The laughing scene, it's like all of a sudden I'm fucking here and I feel like maddened by it as well. I'm like, I'm going fucking crazy too. Where the fuck am I? That's kind of one of the biggest praises I have for the film. Somehow through the messiness of like, sometimes you catch yourself sitting on the outside of the movie being like, oh, haha, that's funny. And then all of a sudden, like, without you being aware, you're completely drawn in. And you're like, how did I arrive here?
Yes.
You felt like you're with the characters. It's very strange.
It's borderline psychedelic.
Right. That's a good way to put it. I've never really described a movie like that isn't like playing heavy into that trope. But yeah, like this is a little bit of a bad trip movie.
It lies between there and a bit of surrealism.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's a good way to put it.
It has a weird tone. Yeah. That scene specifically. Let's talk about that scene.
Yeah.
How is this effect achieved? I thought this looked really, really good.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching mind-bending effects with the furniture coming to life.
Yeah, that's something like when I watch it, I was like, how do they do that?
I've watched this 3 times, and I paid very close attention to that sequence. And I'm like, I don't understand
because it's not green screened.
It's not animation.
It's not stop motion behind him.
It does feel like his body feels a bit removed from the stuff going on around him.
I can't tell if it's in shot.
Yeah.
I can't tell if it's in camera, like, because it feels like the electronics that they would have to rig for that would be insane.
Way beyond the budget of this film.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, so part of me thinks it's stop motion. And part of the reason why I thought that a little bit was because at times when the doors were opening and closing, and very clearly, like, there's an overdub effect to, like, make those slamming sounds. It's like a very busy mix for the time. And everything feels a little stock sound. All the cabinets opening and everything.
Yeah.
I've been
the direction and editing in this scene.
Oh my God. There's almost like a fisheye lens on his close-up shots of his face.
I think so.
I like the variety of shots we get throughout the film. That's another thing. There's a ton of crazy camera work here. Albeit the effects are like kind of cheap at some points. There's a lot of like really interesting camera work going on. When we talked about this scene in particular, like you feel like you're coming from the back corner of the ceiling. You feel like you're zooming down in on him.
Tons of snap zooms.
Yeah, and you're spinning and all this crazy shit. And like that's kind of like part of that disorientation that you kind of feel the entire film. Like we're talking about like, oh, we've just arrived here. Like that's kind of the reason, like the camera work, you zoom out, you zoom in.
It almost feels like a character in the movie.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
It literally
is.
Yes.
Exactly.
And those are some of my favorites. The POV shots.
God, it's so weird. And like sometimes it's like really cheesy because like it'll arrive on top of the character and then like 5, 7, 8 seconds have to pass until something happens. But it's like, no, the thing's here. Like, you know what I mean? Like the pacing like gets immediately cut because then like somebody has to say something and there has to be a pause.
Then the thing hits.
Yeah.
I think like the most effective use of that effect, that camera style, is during the long like continuous takes that involve like Ash being chased through the whole house where the camera is literally breaking down the doors.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
I don't know if I've seen that anywhere else.
That was like kind of one of the reasons why I think that's like might be like one of the greatest films I've ever seen. Kind of for that reason, where it's like there's so much variety going on that I don't know. The movie feels like really meta and like it like holds up. I could see the meta when it was made, and then like it works even better now.
That is like the thing now. Meta
makes a movie good. You love Birdman. You love Birdman.
I love Birdman.
You love Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I do.
Like the Bengals playing Sweet Victory at the end of the game on Monday night at the stadium. That's fucking meta. Why is meta the thing now? It's the metaverse, homie.
I don't know.
Zuckerberg's onto something.
I couldn't tell you what like made this a trendy thing over the last decade, but it's definitely like in almost everything.
Yeah. It's a phase that we're going through right now as a society, for sure. Like social media has like, you're making comments on comments on comments of like very deep levels of memetry. It's awful. You have like people like memeing really deep levels of like government investigation with like Kevin James, like Kevin James memes. And it's like,
that is the thing right now.
And it's like, why?
It's kind of a good meme too.
As a society, how have we when they were making Kings and Queens, were they thinking, oh, these stock images that we're going to use to advertise in fucking magazines and newspaper, these fucking headshots of Kevin James, they're going to make a great meme to comment on like, hey buddy, can you pass the weed? Like when homie says, if you like, it's just like, why? How have we gotten here? What is wrong with us?
It's exhausting.
Do you remember earlier off the air when I said if Jesus came back, he would scorch this earth and start anew? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Wow,
yes.
Why the fuck?
Everything's been diluted into like, this weird self-irony. Can't say that I'm a big fan.
The fucking absurdism of everything. It's so funny. What's next?
Satire, like it's done here, kind of lends itself to that meta type shit. But yeah, that camera work, dude. I think I laughed out loud several times when it's like breaking through items within the set. It goes through like the back window of his car and the front window of his car.
Why? It's like those are those comedy gold. Like those are those moments though that like pull you out of it in a great way.
There's not really jokes here. Like,
No.
The dialogue isn't funny except for the fact that it's like bad. It's like Three Stooges level of slapstick a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think it works because like the situation feels so intense. You watch a film like this when they're older and the effects are more rudimentary and kind of ugly, it like puts you in a kind of a trance where like you really have to willingly suspend your disbelief because you're trying to enjoy this thing for what it is. And once your brain immediately recognizes that like, oh yeah, it was made at this time, they couldn't do this, what we can do now. There's this headspace that a film like this, what it puts you in. Once you've suspended your disbelief, the beats hit really fucking well.
Like the most important parts of the film.
Yeah, and like Sam Raimi's directing feels like a love letter or like some sort of conversation to a viewer, to an audience member. It feels so like, I've got you here, and now it's funny here. Here's a really great shot. Here's a not so great shot, but you still like it. I don't know. I felt like he held my hand the whole time when I was watching the film. Like it feels really special.
It does.
I can't tell if it's like my own enjoyment or if there's something more than just this like weird. I don't know why it works. Like it's so strange.
It's so trashy and stupid, but it's like somehow feels like high level art at the same time.
Right. God, exactly. That's my point. It's just really strange to enjoy. It like sounds, I'm sure like to somebody listening to this is like, oh, look at these two fucking idiots fucking talking about this dump truck of a fucking movie. But like seriously, at the same time, I feel so attached to it. Like, I don't know, it felt really personal for like what otherwise is like a weird, dumb horror film. You know what I mean? It's just, and I hate horror. That's the thing. Like, that's why it's getting me.
But do you hate horror?
I don't know if I do now.
Like, do you hate the bullshit that you were fed growing up?
Right. I think that's what it is. Anyway.
Where were we? Oh, the Three Stooges thing. Two of this film's most intense scenes are preceded by some of the dumbest comedy. The laughing scene begins with him sitting in a chair and it breaking.
I forgot about that. It does break. It's so fucking strange.
And that's when the deer head snaps its neck and starts speaking. And I think that right there actually is genuinely unsettling in a strange way.
One of the biggest things that I love is like the monotone fucking blue over this entire fucking cabin. Like, nobody lived here, by the way. Like, this is like, there's no way anybody ever lived here. Like, this is a set that they built that they meant to destroy.
This one felt like a set for sure.
Right.
The first Evil Dead was filmed like in a remote cabin though. And I think this one was designed to look exactly like that.
Okay.
But there was something way more artificial going on here.
Yeah.
Especially with like there's this like constant lingering clock in the background, and there's like a lot of shots. Like it's one of those old like ding ding ding. It feels very artificial.
Right.
What I was getting to with the weird comedy and like violence thing, like that one scene is preceded by him falling into a chair. And then the scene where he cuts his own hand off, which is like fucking insane to me. It begins with him smashing dishes over his head.
Exactly. And like that's it's a hard cut from when we get to meet the other characters. He's smashing fucking plates on his head and shit. And I'm like, this is hilarious.
He's
and
doing like stuntman shit on
exactly
camera too.
Yeah. I almost think at one point it's not him, but I could be mistaken. It is Bruce Campbell doing a lot of stuff. And like one of the big comments I want to make before I forget, when the witch possesses his hand, that's Bruce Campbell doing that. For like the first few moments of that, I was really captured by it. Like I felt like he was doing it. And there was just a brief moment where I caught it and I was like, oh, it is just his hand. And like it kind of like cheapened the effect for me. And then like he hops right back into like he makes it work again. And like the comedy of the fucking hand moving towards the fucking knife, like that's fucking hilarious. Like that's fucking good.
Straight out of a Looney Tunes cartoon.
And like the noises, like it was like Roger Rabbit. Like it was amazing. This is fucking comedy. And then like a few minutes later, we're like, oh my God, this is kind of fucking terrifying at the same time.
I think his performance is actually really fucking great in this movie.
It is. You're right with like the Jim Carrey shit at the beginning too.
Yeah.
There is some of that. And then by the end, like not the very end, but like the last 30 minutes, you're like, this guy's a fucking hero.
He's like pretty serious from that point on.
And then in the end, you're like, this guy's a fucking idiot.
That's like something I wanted to bring up a bit earlier when you were talking about like, who are these people? You don't even know like who Bruce Campbell is really. I feel like this guy should have been a star. And I don't know why he wasn't. He's tall. He has dark hair. He's handsome. He has a defined jawline.
Yeah.
He can do physical and verbal comedy. He looks like an action hero. Like he can do the stunt type stuff. He's like only known for this, like the Raimi stuff.
I guess he is in Raimi. He fucking plays the fucking dinner guy, the host at the restaurant that Tobey Maguire, Peter's gonna propose in.
Is that Spider-Man 1?
No, he plays the box office guy.
At the theater.
At the theater. He plays the host at the dinner. Holy shit, how have I never put these two together?
He was the pizza stand attendant in Doctor Strange.
He works with Raimi.
He's a Raimi guy. But it doesn't make any sense as to like why this didn't
like elevate him.
Yeah.
Maybe it did though.
They tried. He starred in several TV shows that all got canceled after season 1. After that,
that's so strange.
Nothing.
Strange.
He has a few movie credits, but it's all like
characters. Like side characters. Like he kind of feels like more mature Jim Carrey.
He does.
He feels like Jim Carrey of like an older generation.
I feel like we were robbed of a great career of performances by Bruce Campbell.
But is it not a great career now?
He's made a living off of being Ash.
Right.
And like, I'm happy for him, but I think he deserved more. This Ash persona in this movie is very underdeveloped compared to what he is in
like what his
Army
range
of
is.
Darkness.
Right. Tell me about that because I don't know.
The next movie, which, you know, this film ends off with a great gag where he ends up in medieval times.
Like fucking, he's like entered Monty Python. Like, what the fuck?
I did text you and say there's a 0% chance that anybody who's ever seen this guessed the ending.
And I didn't know. I hadn't got, and I had started the film and told you I had started the film but not finished it. And you're like, oh, here you go. When I was at the end, I was like, fuck you. Like, fuck you, man.
I was self-aware of what Army of Darkness is, but I didn't know like how this series got there.
How they could even like touch each other.
And like I forgot that's where it goes when I was watching this for the first time.
Okay.
When it hits that final scene, I was howling in my living room at like 4 a.m. in the morning. Like, what the fuck? Army of Darkness, completely different tone, maybe 10% horror. That film feels like a fantasy Monty Python sketch. It's like an action satire.
I want to watch it so fucking bad.
The Necronomicon and like the Deadites, all that's in there, but it does not feel like the same at all. It's 100% slapstick. The whole movie, it's a straight up comedy. But his persona in that movie is way more developed.
It changes.
He speaks a lot more.
The dialogue is a little bit more thorough.
I mean, it's like still stupid, but it's like more dialogue centric than it is like the style of the filmmaking.
I also feel like that movie probably sets itself up better for more interesting dialogue situations than like this movie did.
And the beginning of that one is weird too because it retcons the end of this.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know how he kills the demon once he goes there and then all the men are worshiping him?
Right.
In Army of Darkness, he shows up and that doesn't happen and he's like taken as a slave instead. And then like the film ends with that respect. Evil Dead 2 retcons Evil Dead 1. Army of Darkness retcons Evil Dead 2. Like,
right.
This trilogy is very strange.
That is really weird. Oh, God. I feel like I need to watch them all now. Like, it feels...
It gives me a headache thinking about it.
Kind of makes me want to throw up. Like, that's so fucking disgusting. Like, reality is already bent so much around these fucking films.
The third movie was actually supposed to be called Medieval Dead.
Now that seems right.
And the studio didn't want that. They actually wanted Army of Darkness to stand on its own, just to be its own thing, not related to Evil Dead. But it is.
Yeah, why?
If you watched it by itself, I don't know if it would make 100% sense. Like,
right.
Studio executives are stupid.
Yeah. I feel like at the time, probably even more so. I feel like probably when these movies were made, they probably felt so fringe.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, so weird.
This was a hard movie to take notes for, by the way.
Yeah. It felt like nothing had substance other than like it being meta for there to be like any referential points to like make notes about.
I mean, like themes and stuff.
Yeah, like I don't know.
This is definitely not that movie.
No, not at all.
There's no substance here.
Right. It's all like very situational and like gaggy. And I like that. I felt like it was very similar to like stand-up comedy. From like performance start to finish was like really absurd. Everything felt really underdeveloped, but at the same time, the underdevelopment is in terms of practical filmmaking where it's like the script needs to be tight enough for these shots to work. It was like these shots work and the script is not tight enough. Therefore, it like makes the film commentary on like genre. For that reason, like it's hard to like frame it that way, but yeah, it felt like a non-movie and more like commentary on filmmaking
and like tropes and stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of like that.
Doesn't Bruce Campbell make out with that woman at the end of this?
I know he like embraces her. I don't know if he makes out with her.
Or does it like tease a kiss of some
yes,
sort?
It like teases that. And I'm like, he just killed his girlfriend like less than 24 hours ago. And like he also like hacked her fucking boyfriend to fucking pieces. Like this doesn't work.
And if this whole series is canon, he's already gone through this one time before.
Yeah, it's so strange.
He's already lost one girlfriend and a group of friends.
Right. It's the weirdest fucking thing.
I don't think Sam Raimi gives a fuck.
It like fucking borderline psychedelia. Like it's so bizarre. The whole context is non-existent. There is context, but there's context like in the fourth wall way where it's like the characters never break it, but the audience is always in on the gag.
Yeah.
Like it feels so, you're like a fly on the wall of like this made up fucking universe where like, we're going to redo this. Here you go. We've created a fucking playground for these characters to live in. It's just strange. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. I think that's why I liked it so much.
I find like this tone and style very addictive.
Yeah.
And I don't know like where else I would go to even get close to this.
That's something I think when I finished the film, I was like, I want to watch more horror films now because I feel like this made horror films so approachable. Like in the way where it's like, I'm going to show you just how fucking stupid this gag is. It'll be a little scary and like a little uncomfortable, but like you'll think it's stupid in the best way. You're going to think it's funny. And now when I watch a horror film, like if I wanted to like actually watch a scary film, which like we'll get to, I think, let me put it that way. I feel like I can like soften my approach now. I have nothing to be afraid of. This made me feel like there is a world of film that I have not even like touched because I attach it to horror film. Now I'm like, I want to see where like directors pay homage to each other like in this genre now. Like I really love the film for that reason.
I feel like I'm finding myself loving directors and or films that like reach into that bag of tricks. Like even if it's not a horror film, Lynch, for example.
Right.
he kind of dips into horror.
Dude,
that's like,
this is the water. This is the well. Like, you fucked me up watching that fucking episode. You fucked my brain. I was like, this is too much. This is
Man at Winkies. And
I'm so fucking removed from reality when watching that shit. It is like, you feel like you have stepped into a fucking, reality has bent in a way that's like not meant to be processed by the human brain. It's not okay.
It's a very special flavor.
Right.
And I love dipping into that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go to get that stuff, really.
Dude, I'm telling you, you picking up like that Haruki Murakami book is like, that's the fucking flavor.
It felt like it was time for that.
I'm reading Stephen King right now, and I'm on the third Dark Tower book. It's that same level of surrealism and meta. King is really fucking good at blending reality with like his work. Like, he is somehow able teeter-totter on this like fine line between like, here's reality and here's how I'm gonna bend it for you with his characters, like in the way the story moves through these worlds. And like, there's horror element to it. Like, it's the perfect time to read this book.
Like you get that tone, that flavor, and you like want to sink into it.
Yeah, it's definitely fucking spooky season. Like, dude, I'm in it. Like, I'm in it. The book is fucking amazing.
Hey, welcome here.
Yeah, I get it now, and I like it.
I love it.
I'm like excited for this time of year.
This is still relatively new to me too.
Really?
Like the horror film love, at least.
Right.
Like that kind of started with The Lighthouse, honestly. Like you,
yeah, me
you
too.
started this for me.
Yeah. Really? That's strange.
I think so, yeah. Like outside of like classics like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, like I like that stuff.
Yeah.
But dipping into this weird blend of thrill and surrealism, horror, comedy, I love that mix.
It feels like really mature in like the most immature way. I feel like I can recognize like my palette is developed enough now where I'm like, okay, I feel like horror film is like kind of like the end game in some way. And I mean this in like the strangest way. I think horror films really help showcase filmmaking at some of its like really basic and rudimentary forms. It's a lot of like heavy situation,
atmosphere,
and that like helps you focus on like technicals as well. The technicals will be very simple, but when they work really well, it will feel like excellence. Like, it kind of like strips down a script. It strips down set.
It's like you don't need that.
Right.
It's weird how it elevates it to that level.
And I think with a film like this, it kind of like is hitting the precipice of like, okay, it's absurdism at its height with a genre that I'm not familiar with. And so I kind of see it from a more critical eye, but like the flavoring of horror is going to allow me to open up different doors into like that genre. You know what I mean? Like,
there you go.
Like that's what I was getting the most from this film. I need that. Like, it's like the biggest fucking masturbation of like my fucking like my fucking interest. But like, I'm excited to see moving forward, how can I like appreciate this catalog of fucking film that I have never even touched toes in, because like this movie made it feel so approachable. I'm fucking excited. I'm in it now.
Have there been any films in particular that you've like wanted to like maybe give a try for the first time?
Yeah, like I want to like watch some fucking like schlocky fucking bullshit. Like, I want to watch like the bad Alien movies, like the movies that suck, Alien 3 and shit. Like,
oh Lord,
like I want to watch shit like that.
You know, that's directed by David Fincher.
What the fuck?
That was his debut film. He barely has anything to do with like choices.
Right.
On it. It was a studio movie. Yeah, dude, the B movie thing. You need to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, I want to watch like the fucking It, like with
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. Yeah, like I want to watch that shit, man. Like, I want to get.
It's not great.
Exactly.
But you should give it a shot, though.
But I want to watch it. I'm like, okay, this movie has like made me want to like dip my toes there. Because like I used to view them as like horror films, but now I know like they're just going to be fucking stupid in the best way. I want to see that. I want to get there. This was like a really good movie for me.
I'm glad.
I'm fucking really glad you picked it.
I was afraid that you were going to come here and think this was like really dumb. I knew that wasn't going to happen, but like the fear is always there. You know?
Of course. I think you did like a perfect job. Because like I think if you'd have been like, let's watch Midsummer, or like let's watch like,
I almost recommended Hereditary for this episode.
Yeah, you should not have done that.
You're not ready for that one yet.
No.
That's a great one, actually.
I'm not. I think
it's harrowing.
I think what we're doing next will like prepare us for next year, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, look, we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
I legitimately think like this movie is like perfect, like for me. I haven't given a 10 out of 10 on a movie in a long fucking time. And like this is like
Mulholland Drive was probably the last time, I think.
I think I
Before
gave like a
that-
9.5. I don't know if did I give it a 10?
You gave it a 10.
Yeah, it really was. But it's been a little while. And I think there's a little bit of like personal bias here, but I think that's where I want to sit. I got so much out of this movie. I feel like it probably will feel 5 to 10 years from now. I'll be like, that was the movie that like helped me arrive where I'm at now with like certain love for film. Like, seriously, because it was a really transformative film for me. Like, I'm like, okay, I get it now. I loved it.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. I'm glad.
Yes, you did great.
I think I'm in the same boat as you. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. This scratched an itch that I didn't know even existed.
Right.
I don't think Sam Raimi ever reached this level ever again, but this is a special film.
I see it now. I know when like this film is going to be talked about when I watch like YouTube videos on it, or like I just see it's tossed around. I'm like, there's going to be like a certain level of love that like I see. It was really fucking good. Like, I don't even feel like we really even scratched the surface. I feel like this is a film, if we ever really wanted to, I think this is a film that we could return to. Seriously. I think this is a movie in the future, in a couple years from now, when we want to sit down after we've like developed a repertoire of Halloween films that we've done. I'm like, I would love to go back to this and like see what else I can find. And like,
You could probably do a full podcast episode just breaking down like shots.
yeah, like there's a lot. There's like so much here that I don't even really feel like this podcast is going to do like the level of appreciation that we probably should give to it. But like, there's a lot here that like, I hope people don't think like the 10 out of 10 is like me just giving it like an easy pass. It was like,
It's not the end game.
Like-
I'll keep interacting with
Right.
this film in the future.
it was really fucking good. I was like surprised that I liked it. like seriously, like it fucking blew my mind. Like that I even enjoyed it. Like,
I'm surprised that you like it to the extent that you do.
yeah, it's perfect. I fucking love. It's crazy. Like seriously.
Piss break.
Are you ready,
Yeah,
homeboy?
I'm ready.
I'm ready to fucking hear it.
Brother, it's been a long time coming, I think, for me to see this film. This is a film that like has hung around for as long as I can remember. Like I remember asking about, I'm like, what is this? And they're like, no, you don't want to watch that. Like that's a scary movie. That's a bad movie. Like, you don't want to watch that. Like when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't care what that is. And like it was always had like this really weird aura and stigma around it. Funny enough, like I was like somewhat introduced to at least the subject of this film earlier this year, like back in the spring. It was a good time to read that book. And then I was like, okay, I feel like I could watch this. And I would like really be interested now to compare a little bit to the book that I read. And it's still spooky season. And I feel like this will probably come out around the end of October, like early November. It'll still feel like a good time to watch the film. So I want to watch Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, man, I knew you'd be excited. I feel like we've had a lot of fun lately in like a little bit more of a loose manner where like you and I have just come on, we're just talking, chilling, having a good time, still like making great points. But at the same time, I feel like the subject matter has been like kind of easy lately. This is like one of the only horror films that's ever won an Oscar.
It won Best Picture.
Best Picture. And I guess I kind of wanted to see what the hype was about because now that we like scratched the surface with horror, to an extent, I think this movie will like make me so unsettled and uncomfortable and awful and like it'll fucking destroy me. And I know it's coming, but at the same time, I'm like, I could do this. I want to see what it's about.
Dude, fuck yeah. You can do this,
Yeah.
by the way. It's not like extreme or anything.
No, but like, who wants to subject yourself to uncomfortability knowingly? You know what I mean? Like, who's like, you know what I'm gonna do today? I'm gonna fucking put my nuts in a vice grip and like see how long. Like, no one wants to do that with like their entertainment. It's like, who wants to fucking subject themselves to fucking?
I would.
Yeah, I'll put my fucking nuts in that vice grip. God damn it!
We're getting a bit of Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster.
Two people I would love to talk about, actually, both for like very different reasons. There's stuff I've learned about like Anthony Hopkins that I'd love to like scratch the surface with the podcast and stuff.
This is a very unexpected direction from you, I'd say.
I want a level of professionality with the next podcast because I feel like for the most part I've been so comfortable and I've had so much fun. It's like, why not refine myself down a little bit? This is a movie that needs some extra love and attention and to be a little sharper on. And I want to scratch that surface, and it's the right time of year. So
Well, I'm ready to see what that conversation looks like.
Yeah,
'cause
it's gonna be good.
I've gotten very comfy in this this free form nature that we've been fucking around with.
I'm hyped. That was fun. That was like a fucking blast. Getter, if you could do me the great honors of signing us out for the evening, I'm all out of here by all means.
Adios.